Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review. And oh my God, I said it to end live reactions, which for those of you that may be joining us for the review that didn't hear our live reactions, go back and check those out when you have the time. This was my favorite episode of Lucha Underground so far this season. I think they're finally back in their stride. This is the Lucha Underground that I want to switch my fucking blood with. We got quality cinematics. We got returns that made me pop. We got a great debut and a really fun, opening match. But then the main event, which got a big chunk of the time, narratively it delivered, in ring it delivered. And God, the ending cinematic. Oh my God, so many questions. I love this dude. This was great. 10 out of 10 for me. Unbelievable. I want your thoughts on this. You do some talking now.
Yeah, this was definitely a very fun episode of Lucha Underground, and I will agree with you that it was the best episode of Season 3 so far. Now, granted, it's 1 out of 3, so I'm definitely hoping that it gets unseated not just once, but multiple times throughout the season. But so far, we're just getting better and better. I would say episode 3 was the best, then 2, then 1 was still enjoyable, but you could tell that it was still kind of trying to get back up on its feet. So episode 3 was the most enjoyable so far, and I'm just really, I loved the match that we got. We got 2 matches technically, but I loved the big match that we got, the 3 Ways to the Grave match. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the debut that we got, and the most important thing to me, which is the most important thing in Lucha Underground to me, storylines are really starting to pick up, and I am really excited about the prospects of that. So if you want to get into our next segment, let's do it.
Yeah, let's get right into our Lucha Underground review. And we open up with a Worldwide Underground cinematic. Partner, walk us through it.
Oh, of course. Any other time, it's, oh, hey, how did we open this show? And I have to tell you, but this time, you remember exactly how we opened the show. Why? Because bias.
I thought you'd be proud of me for stepping up. I'm sorry. Do you not want to walk us through it?
I mean, you remember it so well. Why don't you walk us through it?
I feel like this opened a chasm that I really wasn't prepared for. Pretty much, Ricky Mundo is explaining that he's been to this place. What did he call it? Doll Island, to Jack Evans and PJ Black.
Doll Island or the Isle of Dolls. I think the Isle of Dolls is what it's known as in real life. I don't know what he called it, though. I didn't catch it.
The Isle of Dolls. So we'll just go with that for now. And Jack Evans and PJ Black are just looking at him like, motherfucker, you're crazy. Like, what is wrong with you? Johnny Mundo comes out and
belongs in a loony bin.
I'll say. He pulls Rosie's string and she's like, hola. Really creepy, but you know what it reminded me of, just to get my first nerdy reference out of the way? Rosie, I don't know if we have any Twilight Zone fans that watch the podcast. Nope. That was some talking Tina shit. Like, I got the heebie-jeebies listening to her voice. I was like shivering. I was like, oh my God, that is weird as hell. Creepy fucking doll. So says hi to Jack Evans, PJ Black. Then Johnny Mundo and Taya come in. And you know what's on Johnny Mundo's mind, the Reptile Tribe. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm so amped up in this episode, I don't even want to do the usual Reptile Tribe stick. I already did my Twitter stuff. We'll resume that next week, probably. They're going over battle plans and strategies. And Johnny Mundo sees the doll, doesn't really remark on anything. I can't believe that he hasn't kicked Ricky out yet, especially given what happened in Aztec Warfare. I don't know. I love Johnny to death. I'm starting to question the judgment just a little bit. But he's pretty much giving marching orders, saying, Jack Evans, you take on one of the reptiles tonight. And, Jack Evans pretty much says no. PJ Black's like, oh, but come on, man, you're the Dragon Slayer. And he's like, dragons aren't snakes. Dragons, when you slay it, you're granted honor. Snakes are just disgusting. Then they have like a little impromptu debate, or like, are dragons like snakes? And like, what's the kinship there and all that? And it's just a big hubbub. But Jack Evans pretty much says like, no, I'm not going to do it. And he walks out. He's like, he's got a colon-X, I think like a colon cleanse to go to. And then Johnny Mundo's like, well, the rest of you have your marching orders. And they leave. And then Ricky Mundo, if what I understood from chat correctly, because I know we didn't hear it the first time, he pulled the string again, or maybe he didn't even need to pull the string. And the doll was like, "It's okay, Ricky," and just had like a menacing laugh. So, yeah, that was creepy as shit, and I'm definitely not going to sleep tonight. What did you think about the cinematic?
Yeah, I was all in on, Johnny Mundo coming in and being like, "Oh, hey, we've got to, really show the reptile tribe what's what," and that was all good. And even Jack Evans being like, "Oh, I'm afraid of snakes," and that's good because that means that we have an advantage over you, that you have a member that's afraid of us, which is great. But I mean, the whole Ricky Mundo thing, man, he's full blown gone mad.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm really curious, Ashton, that thank you, Jarveris. Finally, I have somebody speaking some sense. But I'm really curious, Ashton, how these threads are going to be interwoven. Like, is Ricky's possession by visiting I want to say it was the Isle of Dolls, because I know yeah, Isle of Dolls. Yeah, that I just confirmed it in chat. If like that's going to interweave with the struggle between Worldwide Underground and the Reptile Tribe. Hell, maybe it's even a three-way factional warfare. We don't know what these dolls are after. You know what I mean? It could be Reptile Tribe versus Worldwide Underground versus those dolls that have kind of appropriated Ricky Mundo for their purposes as like a vessel. We don't know how it's all going to play out. But, it's funny. The show's been around for 4 seasons. We've seen some dark shit. Bale getting his face eaten. Cisco getting killed by Cueto with the bull. Mill absorbing. Well, actually, no. Trace, I think it was, or Sinestro de la Muerte absorbing Trace and Barrio Necro, like pulling their hearts out. Like we've seen some macabre shit, but like I have a feeling this storyline is gonna get really dark, dude. Like I do not have a good feeling about this at all. Like you mix dolls and possession, and all that shit. We're about to go to some really crazy, creepy places. So, I mean, do you have any theories about how all this is gonna unfold?
Not really. Not any good ones, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much right there with you. I'm just kind of clenching my butthole very, very tightly and hoping for the best. And
I don't think anyone really needed to know about that, but we appreciate the graphic description to describe.
I mean, we do provide the best commentary here, and you know why? Because we are the most detailed. So there you go. But Worldwide Underground definitely prepping for Reptile Tribe. Again, that's all I really care to say about it this week. I'm not going to do any of my monologue because I'm too amped up. I want to talk about the big narrative richness of this episode. Is there anything else you want to add, though, Ashton, to this cinematic?
Not really, man. I'm really like I'm a fully drawn in by this whole thing involving Ricky Mundo and the doll. So this isn't even something that I feel like speculating about. This is just I'm along for the ride to see where the hell this leads to.
I'm with Dragon Man, though. If Rosie ever starts like moving on her own or doing some crazy shit, like, God, I'm going to be so anxious, Aardvark. It's ridiculous. But let's move on from this. And we go from that. Did we have any other cinematic? Did we go right into Jack Evans versus the debuting? How do you pronounce it again? I just want to make sure.
Licious.
Licious. I thought so. I just wanted to really confirm. So Jack Evans versus Licious.
Yeah.
I feel like I talked a lot for the cinematic, so I'm going to give you the reins here. What do you think about this debut for Licious?
Yeah, man, I thought this was a great debut for him. He had a great showing here. He showed some definite athleticism, which is nice because really this is only the second Exotico character that we've had in Lucha Underground. And I love Pimpinela Escarlata, but he wasn't the most athletic. Like he could still do some athletic shit. Like he would do like the top rope into the arm drag in the middle of the ring kind of stuff. But Licious on a different level, man. He is definitely kind of an updated model as far as the Exoticos go. He's like a contemporary modern day Exotico. Like he's like, oh yeah, all these old guys dressing up like women. I got you, man. I got this. And he does like all the twerking stuff that we've seen different women throughout the history of wrestling do. And he does the athleticism stuff. Like we saw him do some crazy arm drags. We saw him attempt a moonsault. What was the finisher again? I know he did.
It was like a middle rope face buster that he.
That's took, like, right. Yeah, that's right. Because I know he did like the middle rope leg drop that was sick as hell into a split. And that's another thing. He likes to do a lot of splits. He does a lot of, like, I think he did like 4 or 5 splits in this match alone. But I mean, that's just impressive. That's just pure flexibility that I think most of us are probably jealous of.
Brother, can I just say, actually, first of all, before I come in, is there anything else you wanted to say?
Oh man, I'm impressed, and I'm actually pretty happy that he got the win.
You know what was most exciting to me about Licious is like he did seem like a younger Exotico competitor.
Yeah.
Because I think Pimpinella is a bit on the older side. So like Licious being younger, that's always exciting. I love that Lucha
I
Underground.
can actually tell you, I just looked it up. He's 24 years old, dude.
Amazing. I figured they were really young, and that was the first really exciting thing to me that I didn't want to comment on until we got
Pimpy's literally twice that age. Pimpy's going on 50.
Yeah, so like to have a young Exotico character, and like what I love about Lucha Underground, and I'm only saying this because I asked them this question, you know, when we did the big interview with Roach and Joseph, which you guys haven't heard that, it's on the channel. I'm incredibly proud of that commentary because like Ashton and I killed it, I think. But they're so good at representation. Like they don't make a big deal that Licious is an Exotico. They don't like make any like ham-fisted jokes or treat it like a caricature. Like Licious is taken very seriously. And a young star like that is capable, that is solid in the ring. It's just wonderful, really wonderful to see that because like I said, in the interview, I asked them about representation, you know, of people returning from war, women, stuff like that. And this is another group that I think is getting really positive representation that I would not trust WWE to give, at least not without making a joke of it or having a misstep along the way. So big ups to Lucha Underground for that. I think that's actually one of the additions to their roster that I'm actually pretty excited about, given that they're so young. And again, just with that whole thread, Jack Evans continues to be phenomenal. Absolutely astounding.
Dude, not only is Jack Evans always going to be amazing in the ring, but it was so good to have him back as a mic worker because when he gets on the mic and he talks his shit, Jack Evans from the heavens, he is untouchable in that temple on the mic.
Like to me, in this moment in pro wrestling where it is like, to at least in my opinion, the flippy and the breathtaking stuff that sells, but knowing that he's got the personality to go with it, I am waiting for a brand to build themselves around Jack Evans, honestly, because like he can astound in the ring and back it up, but the way he works the mic, it's like you believe it, and he just oozes this charisma. Again, to me, maybe there are some people listening to this that's like, I don't care for Jack Evans at all. I think he's a trash heap, which fair enough. But like I look at him and I'm like, how is this guy not a world champion or something, like on a smaller promotion or something? Or like, how is a promotion not being built around him? The guy is just astounding to watch, and I'm always privileged to experience him work in the ring. This is a really fun match. Congratulations to Licious for the win with the middle rope face buster. I don't know what the status of Jack Evans is because we're asking about the status of a lot of guys. I don't know if he's just here for like a few tapings and then something happens to him. Maybe that's why they had him having the line about the snakes. Maybe the reptile tribe does get to him. But whatever this guy does next, and I wish he was still doing it with Lucha because, man, so good. But whatever he does next, like I really do wish him the best because that guy is a gem. Really is.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we're going to end up losing Jack Evans either at some point this season or at the end of the season. But it's still good to have him while we have him.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
All right, well, I guess that's it as far as this match goes, and I believe that up next was Pentagon's promo in the ring.
Yeah, just to quickly recap, because then I want to hand it over to you, Ashton, for the big development from this segment. Pentagon essentially says, like, everybody that's tried to cover this, like Aztec Warfare, 19 people tried to cover for this title, and they failed. Last week, Matanza Cueto tried to cover for this title. He failed, and the next person to do it, you'll fail too, because I'm Pentagon Dark, and I have, zero fear. But then, who was the challenger that emerged, Ashton? Give us your thoughts on this.
The Machine Cage.
Put a hurting on that ass.
Cage is a beast, man. He attacked. He got a table. He put Pentagon through the table with a power bomb. He dominated Pentagon, and then he held that title up, and it looked so right in his hand.
Oh, dude, yes. Because again, I wanted to hear more from you first before I gave my thoughts. So here's like a guiding question. How do you feel about Cage being the number one contender? Presumably, because
I absolutely adore it. I love anytime Cage gets involved in the title picture. It makes me happy. If he wins the title, I'll be happy. That's the thing with Cage, man, is he is this great character who's going to put on a great match every time. And against Pentagon, I'm almost curious. I feel like we might get like an instance where maybe Pentagon breaks his arm, but then he's back the next week because he's a fucking machine and he just got a repair.
Yeah. Dude, here's my thing. I agree with you because let it be known right now, I adore Cage. I think a guy that looks like he does, that can do what he does in the ring. You want to talk? I know I used the word gem for Jack Evans earlier, but my God, like Cage is I don't want to say a once in a lifetime athlete, but he's special. I will say that. Like I think he is a special type of performer. It did sadden me a little bit. You guys heard it on live reactions. Those that are having the crossover from the live reactions into this review. I'm a bit saddened that this feels like a heel turn for Cage. I mean, I love that he powerbombed Pentagon Dark, through the table and everything. And the crowd responds. Some people were behind it, but most weren't because Pentagon's just so over. And I even said to you, Ash, on live reactions, that like anybody that the writers of Lucha Underground set up for Pentagon, they've got to be prepared for that person to take that heat. And they're probably like, well, it's not a problem for Cage to do it because he's been heel once before. Right. So I don't know if this is going to be like a brief heel run if he loses his bid for the championship, or my God, if he wins it, if he would, stay a heel. But I've said this before on past commentaries. I just think Cage's story, his arc, is one of the most fascinating because, again, he looks like he does, and yet he can't win the big championship. I would love for him to finally win it, because here's my other concern that I wanted to talk to you about. Because you and I agree, even though we feel a certain way about Pentagon, that Lucha Underground made the right move because they heard the crowd response, and they're like, you know what? Let's let it rip. Let's just put the belt on Pentagon, let him have his run. But in two defenses, he made history by surviving Aztec Warfare, and he beat Matanza Cueto clean, straight up, one-on-one. No ambiguities or anything. I'm a bit worried he might become OP during this run, that there are going to be challengers that I just can't, suspend my disbelief. I don't think we're there yet, especially with Cage as the #1 contender. But do you share a similar concern as me, or do you think it's unfounded, or, how do you feel about it?
I definitely see where you're coming from. I don't know if because the thing we've got to remember is I think that him beating Matanza last week wasn't him all of a sudden now his power level has just risen that much. I think it was really a narrative thing where he was able to get so close to beating Matanza at Ultima Lucha Dos, but Matanza had the help of Dario Cueto at ringside. He had the ring right there, or not the ring, the key right there next to him that powered him up. And Vampiro asked for Pentagon to basically take it too far, and that's what cost him. So Pentagon had a lot more working against him at Ultima Lucha Dos, whereas this time around, he didn't have any of that stuff working against him. And Matanza lost his two biggest advantages, those being Dario at ringside and the key being around to kind of help power him up. So it makes sense from a narrative standpoint that Pentagon would be able to beat him in that match. I think the biggest issue you and I might have is how quickly he did it.
Yeah, that was also kind of a concern.
Yeah, but again, though, we don't know how much power the key might have provided Pentagon or Matanza. And we also would almost have to go back to Ultima Lucha Dos and see how much in control Pentagon was prior to Dario's interferences.
Yeah, because, I remember Ultima Lucha Dos, he was dominating, right? And it's only because of Vampiro that he lost control. So maybe Pentagon beating Matanza, you could almost say, based on, the bookings and him getting a little closer each time, him beating Matanza was inevitable. But I don't know, man. I think really ultimately what it comes down to for me is who is going to beat Pentagon. Who is going to be the guy to take that title off of him? And keep in mind, we are starting the process of assembling the Aztec medallions. We know Dragon Azteca Jr. has the first one. I don't think any have been assigned beyond that. That'll probably resume next week if I had to guess. But maybe the Gift of the Gods holder will be the one to beat Pentagon. Or maybe it will be Cage. But I'm very curious how they're going to handle this run because Pentagon is so over, but every title reign has to end. And how are you going to handle the ending of this one? But yeah, Cage is #1 contender. I'm totally fine with this. Still mixed feelings about him being a heel, but then again, honestly, it's it's a pragmatic move. It's fucking Pentagon. You're naturally going to be a heel when you're standing across from him. Should be a really fun match. I don't know if that's going to happen next week or 2 weeks from now or whenever, but whenever it does, I think it'll be a fine match in the annals of the Lucha Underground Championship. So good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen next week or if Pentagon is going to defend his title at all next week, but It's definitely a possibility. And whenever it does happen, I am going to be rooting for Cage to win.
Yeah. I think it's really time for him to become Lucha Underground champion. Like him and Son of Havoc especially, because I know I'm rooting for Marty to win the belt, but I feel like his struggle has only just begun, coming in second in Aztec Warfare, right? Losing ultimately to Pentagon Dark. But Son of Havoc and Cage, I feel like they've been close to it, or they've been on the cusp of that main event status. Those are the guys that I go hard for to break that ceiling and really just become the standard bearer of LU. And since Cage is getting his shot because Son of Havoc is preoccupied with the trios titles, I'm going to be rooting all the way for Cage. Absolutely. Give him his run. I think he's more than earned it.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, so after that whole thing goes down, we do get another vignette backstage with Phoenix and Melissa Santos.
Yes. I guess I'll take this one. Phoenix just seeming very, very confident about.
Yeah, he's all like, "Oh, I'm the man of 1,000 lives, babe. I got this."
Yeah, he's like, you can even see like how he preps and like how he's moving his body. Like he is just oozing that arrogance. And she's like, but it was only one-on-one. You're going against two people. Don't forget, I have 1,000 lives. It's cool. And then Melissa, I don't know, raising a red flag. She's like, yes, and they all belong to me. Yeah, it's a little intense. I mean, the last time I saw you guys, you were having a disagreement about him taking off his mask, and now you suddenly want claimed all 1,000 of his lives. Starting to think Marty was the one that dodged the bullet here.
Wow.
But yeah, I went there. Wow. Even I'm kind of sick of myself after that one. But no, it was a good cinematic, a great tone setter, especially given what we know from the trailer. But I gotta say, no, I'll save those comments for the main event. Is there anything you want to say about the cinematic?
No, I think we've pretty much touched on everything I would have said.
Okay, fair enough. Then let's get to the big stuff, man. I'll have you lead the way on this since I just did the talking for the last segment.
All right. Well, I mean, there is no other segment. We're getting right into our next match, which is the main event, 3 Ways to the Grave. And, it's Phoenix, Jeremiah, and Mill. And I think they actually come out in the exact opposite order to what I just described.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this was the match, man. This was the main event. This was the big match. This is what we closed the show. Well, kind of closed the show out with. This was the final segment before the credits ran.
I'm just gonna jump the gun right now and say, like, I think this was better than Graver Consequences. I still think the first Grave Consequences has such a special place in my heart because before that match, I really didn't care for casket matches, and that match showed me like how beautiful and rich they could be, like from the drama perspective and everything else. But this, I would sandwich right in the middle. This was an amazing Grave Consequences match. I mean, Ashton, again, like I did say, you could walk us through it if you want to talk about some of your favorite moments or however you want to handle this. I mean, the floor is yours, bud.
Oh man. Favorite moments, really, I would say that my number one favorite moment was Evilise showing up, and it's kind of apropos too, because we did have Jeremiah getting eliminated first thanks to Evilise. But really, even prior to that, man, some of the moments in this match were absolutely awesome. You want to talk about the sort of Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers moment that Mill had after Jeremiah hit him with something. I don't even remember what it was. I think he like threw him into the chairs or something, and then kind of walks Phoenix up to the top of the temple and beats him down, does a pile driver to him up on the concrete up there. And then next thing you know, doors open to the refrigerated area, and Mill is just standing there stalking Jeremiah, grabs him, pulls him halfway into these freezer doors, and then closes and slams each one of them onto him. Like, yeah, it was awesome, man. Jeremiah sold it well. Mill is just a beast. He is probably still to this day my favorite overall performer in Lucha Underground. And like, yeah, that was a great moment. And then, yeah, man, that was the first like holy shit moment of the match. But the first like what the fuck moment of the match was Evilise just destroying Jeremiah with a hammer. Like, it's almost like a good thing that he died, because he would have had so many hospital bills thanks to her otherwise.
Dude, she whooped that ass, and that's understating it. God damn, she put a hurting on him. I mean, to use my favorite Jarveras phrase, she beat him like he stole something. Like, that was brutal. Just brutal. But you know, I will say, man, just kind of backpedal a little bit. I feel like Mill creeping up on Jeremiah the way that he did with the doors opening, that was the best visual of the match. Because like that sent a shiver down my spine. I said in live reactions, that was like a callback to me, like some Halloween shit. I feel like maybe some people were even more apt to the Jason Voorhees stuff. But yeah, it was something straight out of a horror film, straight up. Like it was amazingly done. Evilise coming back. And you know what? Like, I feel like Evilise needed a return like this because it's always said, like, oh, I'm the baddest bitch in the building. This is the first time I really feel like it was show, not tell for me, right? I'm like, yeah, you just took a hammer to this fucking dude. And I don't know. Then now let me ask you this, though, before we continue with the actual match. Let's just look at this little pocket, the Evilise return. Do you think that this is sending Jeremiah off for good? I know you seem to be kind of joking in live reactions about a zombie Jeremiah. You know, maybe it'll be like, you know, Ichabod Cranial losing the head kind of thing. Or do you think that this is just his send-off because we've already had so many like departures and questions of status for certain performers this season?
Yeah, I mean, you're asking me a question that I don't have an answer to. Like, I don't know, man. I have no clue what it's going to be. It could be one or the other. And I know you're really just asking me what I think, but I don't like to speculate on things that I'm not knowledgeable about. And I have no clue. And that's
right.
The thing, though. I mean, that's, you know, that's like a gift, but a curse at the same time when it comes to avoiding spoilers, is that we genuinely don't know what's going to happen. Like, I'm sure if we would have looked at spoilers, we would know if Jeremiah Crane was in matches other than just Aztec Warfare and the, you know, 3 Ways to the Grave, but neither one of us looked at the spoilers this time around, so we don't know. And that's a good thing because I like to be able to actually enjoy the show as we go along, and we still kind of uphold a really firm anti-spoilers policy as far as our chat and comments go and all that. But not knowing also means that I have a really hard time even worrying about speculation. I just want to go along and see what happens, man.
Really, I look at it more. I could even kind of shift, you know, the question a little bit like this, because to me, it also comes down to, do we even want Evilise to continue this feud, or do we want to move on to other stuff? And this felt like pretty, like it had a great sense of finality to it.
It's closure, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, literally and figuratively, because she closed the lid on his ass. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's time for Evilise to move on to bigger and better things. And I don't know if she would want to go after Pentagon, but I wouldn't complain if she did. That's for sure.
I certainly wouldn't. I mean, look, if you're going to be the baddest bitch, you know, I mean, Hitokiri would have you hold her sake, you know, like, because she to me is #1 right now as far as like baddest females to ever be in the temple to me. And Evilise, though, if she wanted to give a run for her money, go after Pentagon, you know, go after it, man. Like I'm really curious now that like Jeremiah's in the rear view and, you know, dead for all intents and purposes, what Evilise is going to do, because I have said repeatedly, you know, with her injuries, I feel like maybe she already would have been Lucha Underground champion by now had, you know, her body like not kind of stalled her push. I know injuries happen. I'm not going to say she's injury prone. You know, shit happens in this business. But if she can stay healthy this season, I'm really curious what they're going to do for her. If they're going to give her like a foundation for maybe season 5, if they're going to give her the world this season, maybe she'll win Gift of the Gods. I was just saying earlier about Gift of the Gods, right? I could see her getting a medallion and getting the fucking championship. She has the story for it. You know, I'm finally healthy. I'm ready to take everything, even if that means going through Pentagon Dark. So yeah, I'm just happy she's back. What a badass moment for her. I thought that was fucking great. And yeah, Jeremiah's eliminated, so we're down to Phoenix and Mill. So resuming discussion of the match.
I mean, that's the thing though. Like, he's eliminated, but he's also like totally dead.
Yeah. Yeah, like Evilise really fucked him up in really every way. Like it's done. It's over with. And you look at Phoenix and Mill. How did you feel about these guys retreading their ground and kind of renewing their rivalry?
I loved the kind of callback to the first Grave Consequences with Mill tearing and biting at Phoenix's mask and making him bleed and all that stuff. I thought that they were going to take the throwback a step further when Mill was undoing the bottom turnbuckle. I thought that he was going to use that like crowbar. It's not actually a crowbar, but it's like an iron rod that he used in that first Grave Consequences match. I thought he was going to end up using that the same way in this match, but he didn't. He just did that. He just undid that bottom rope for the sake of being able to get a coffin into the ring, which he then obviously did. And, you know, the struggle where Mill kind of ended up halfway into the coffin and then he ended up all the way into the coffin, but he used his arms to break free. Like, Yeah, man. These guys just have magic together. They're just amazing together.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing. I've told you before that I think Phoenix is most interesting as a character when he's interacting with Mil Muertes and Katrina. And again, it didn't disappoint. Like, it's hard to sympathize with a guy that's as OP as he is, but when he's gushing blood and his head is being bitten and he's being pounded in the fucking face, like, you're just grateful in that moment that you're not him, and you're kind of holding your breath because you're in that journey with him. And I will say, you know, Mil, this is his match. Like, he really is their Undertaker because he has grave consequences, is like the match that he put on the map. And at Ultima Lucha, he's undefeated, right? Like, he hasn't lost it in Ultima Lucha. And again, like, he earns that distinction. Mil, he's amazing. And that's, again, I wish I could think of a better word, but I mean, the dude's just incredible. And the back and forth between him and Phoenix was amazing. You know, again, a perfect contrast to this guy that's brute power and brute force with a guy that does aerial shit that really, like, I'd love to see Phoenix versus Ospreay one of these days, because that would just, like, blow the arena off the place anywhere they would work. And really the spot of the match, though, we got to talk about it. Phoenix coming off the top rope and being caught in a flatliner. Good Lord. Like, so good. I knew from the moment he hit that, I'm like, that's it. That's it. Because, like, that's some RKO out of nowhere shit. I fucking loved it. I popped so hard for that. And then when he closed the lid on Phoenix and then it definitively went shut, I'm like, holy shit, Phoenix lost a match. And I'm proud of Lucha Underground for this decision. I really am, because we said it repeatedly. Mil was the most interesting narrative option. One, because, you know, Melissa loses her lover. Two, Katrina gains the life force, which we're going to touch on that in a second. Three, Mil wins, his second ever, because I did mention how he beat Dark Puma. Grave consequences match.
I mean, he beat Prince Puma, turning him into Dark Puma.
Yes, fair point. And honestly, what I did mention on live reactions, this could be good for Phoenix, because, like, everybody that's had the casket closed on him, right, has never come back the same way. So what does this mean for Phoenix? Like, what is he going to come back as? You know what I mean? And, like, that's a very interesting element to this whole thing to me that we haven't even really explored yet.
I mean, yeah, we do need to figure out what Phoenix is going to come back as, but I think there's also more of an added intrigue of if Phoenix will come back at all this season, given sort of the volatility and the flux, the state of flux that the Lucha Underground roster is in right now. And especially because we know that Phoenix and Pentagon's status, as far as their status with AAA goes, is very hostile and not good. So I don't know, man. Like, the interesting thing about this season, as far as not reading spoilers, is that I don't know who's going to show up and I don't know who's going to last. So it really is like a matter of, they could kill off just about anybody, and I wouldn't have to, I wouldn't even allow myself to be surprised by it because of, just how up in the air everything is right now.
I mean, dude, that's the crazy thing, right? Because we never know if something like this, like a casket lid being closed on Phoenix, is a send-off or a character development. And you've got to flip the coin. And here's the thing, and I can't believe I'm the one saying it, because I will be the first one to admit that I have been very critical of Phoenix. And, like, I will own my shit. But this is the one time I would love for him to stick around, because I really feel like this could be a great dimension to his character. Because, again, nobody's ever really come back the same, on the other side of that coffin. And so how would Phoenix change? I want to see that, because that kind of development plus Lucha Underground writing equals a guy that could really reassert himself into, like, I don't want to say Fave 5, but that is the series that we do. Like, a new Phoenix could break into my Fave 5 on Lucha Underground.
I mean, yeah, because the thing is, we see what Phoenix can do, and we, like, I think it's honestly kind of a strange case where 90% of the Lucha Underground roster we love more in Lucha Underground than anywhere else, but Phoenix is kind of the opposite. I think you and I both enjoy Phoenix's work outside of Lucha Underground more than his work in Lucha Underground.
Yeah. And
like, I'm seeing Phoenix in, like, PWG, and I don't know if he'll ever be in Progress, but that could be interesting. But mostly PWG, like, he's fucking incredible. And in Lucha Underground, all I ever think about is, God, why does he reverse everything? It's like another Kushida.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I really don't know where they're going to go with it. But I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to hand the ball back to you because Katrina, do you think she was like sucking the life force right then and there from the casket? Because she seemed to be like doing something post match. What did you think about that?
Yeah, after Mill put Phoenix into the coffin and closed it, he was like trying to like grab Katrina to like celebrate with her, I think, and she like shoved his hand off of her like aggressively and then started to like reach across the coffin. And I think she was already in the process of starting to absorb Phoenix's life force at that point, or maybe she just fully did it at that point. And I mean, she doesn't really need Mill anymore, does she?
No, I guess maybe that's why she shoved him away too. Maybe it ran deeper than just like, let me do this ritual. Maybe it's just saying like, I don't need you anymore. This is the beginning of a new era for me. And like, that's terrifying too, but also fucking awesome. Because again, like Lucha Underground centering these female characters. I'm just still waiting for Mariposa to get her treatment. You know what I mean? Because like, you're seeing fucking Katrina do this. Ivelisse had a badass return. Like, I'm loving it, man. And yeah, Mills just kind of posing in the middle of the ring, you know, claiming his fucking yard. That's how you claim a yard, Roman. And you know, that was just really cool. And yeah, like I feel like so much narratively came out of this. And keep in mind, again, not to jump the gun, but you and I, we do a trailer analysis every season. And one big part of the trailer that we analyzed and broke down was Melissa going after Katrina hard. So you know her fears now of losing Phoenix materialized tonight, and somebody's going to have to get a receipt for it. So I'm really curious how that's going to go, dude. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see just how quickly Melissa starts to take her loss out on Katrina.
Right.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. We'll see.
Do you have anything else to say about this before we get to the cinematic that just blew my mind?
Oh, God. Let's get to it.
All right, man. It's Matanza Cueto who's chained to a floor somewhere, this like darkly lit room, and then Antonio Cueto steps into view. And man, we took a trip down memory lane, and we got a revelation that like, because Antonio Cueto says like, you know I said that you failed me last week, but the truth was that I failed you. And he pretty much gives the history of like how he offered his son as a vessel for the god, and how Cueto, always kept Matanza and the key close because he cared for his brother. But we ultimately learn, guys, that the key is harboring the soul of the human Matanza, not the god. And he says that's more or less like the weak aspect of you, to be stronger so that you don't fail me, because weakness is not going to be tolerated in the Cueto family.
I mean, really what he was saying was that like the humanity that was allowed to continue to live on is the weakness. And that's like the soul is being harbored in the key.
Right. And so he essentially says like weakness is something the Cueto family like will not tolerate. We can't accept it. And so he says, look, destroy it and become a god. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? It's kind of like a running gag on DBZ Abridged for all of you that are fans, when people are like arguing among themselves when like a villain's having a transformation, and then they just stop and they're like, wait, what's happening? And then it's like the villain ascends to a whole new power level, because I thought this was as strong as Matanza could become. The idea that he could become even stronger, every fear I had when he originally debuted just came flooding back, because I'm like, oh,
yeah, because it's like there was always that human part of him that was sort of holding him back. And now that the humanity is gone, because he did end up breaking the key, and in the process, he also broke the handcuffs that he had chained to the floorboards with. So he severed his tie to humanity, and I'm actually kind of glad Dario's dead, because he would never want to see this.
Dude.
So Matanza is now a fully fleshed out, full-fledged god with no humanity left intact.
There is quite a bit that I want to say about this, but I want you to go first. I mean, what were your thoughts about all
I just said what I wanted to say. Go.
Well, no, I just want to make sure that you got all your thoughts out, because to me, like, man, this is tragic. Like it's adrenaline inducing because I'm like, oh fuck, full God Matanza, 100% full power, final form, right? But on the other hand, when you really peel it back, like the Cueto family, there's almost like Shakespearean undertones to it to me, because this family is a tragic family. The mother was an alcoholic and abusive. Matanza killed her, to protect, Cueto and stuff with the bull. And that's when Cueto discovered his love of violence. Cueto, who didn't exactly live the best life, but like you could tell in a perverse way, like, yeah, the affection between him and Matanza, but now he's dead and his father ordered the hit. We know from the comics. That's why I urge everybody, even though they're older now at this point still, like read the comics. Sacrificed Matanza.
And just to be clear, we're not talking about the Luchaverse comics, because that's a thing now. We're talking about the Lucha Underground comics that came out a couple years ago.
Yes. Matanza, his body being used as a vessel for a god, as a child. And Antonio Cueto seems to be at the center of a lot of this. And like his lust for power, which makes me think, I did say Shakespearean undertones, like what's this man's comeuppance going to be? Because in a more normal universe, right, the comeuppance of a Vince McMahon, get stunned. The comeuppance of a Stephanie, when it happens, get your arm broken by Ronda Rousey. But like this is a universe where the stakes are so much higher than that. And it's so varied with its characters and creatures. Like, is the price simply going to be death? Or is it even something worse than that? And if it is going to be death, like, how is this man going to die? Or is Lucha Underground going to take the more cynical route? And is this son of a bitch going to get away with everything? Like, I am just thinking about so much. I mean, most immediately, who's Matanza going to go after now? Is this new Matanza going to beat Pentagon Dark for the title? But really, because you and I both have said so many times that it's the narrative that keeps us coming back, even though the in-ring action is stellar. Like, we love a good story. This is a tragedy. The Cueto family story is a tragedy. And I've never seen a tragedy where anybody could walk away unscathed, right? So I'm just wondering what price, what toll is Papa Cueto going to have to pay? Because he's the biggest sinner to me in that whole fucking family.
I mean, the thing is, though, John, you've also got to remember that this is far from the worst thing he's ever done.
That's true. I personally, I would say the worst thing he's done was, again, sacrifice his son and have his body be used as a vessel.
That's kind of where I was going too. Was like this was like the final straw, but the dominoes were set in motion long ago.
Yeah. But again, like, it's that adage of you made your bed and now you've got to lie in it. When is Papa Cueto going to lie in the bed that he's made? Like,
the bed of fucking nails that he's made.
Exactly. Like, I just love, though, again, I love how this promotion tells stories, because you guys already know from our TWitWoW Year End Awards last year, like, I love the story they told with Killshot and Dante Fox. I thought it was one of the best stories I had seen in wrestling, if not ever, in a really long time. And now we're seeing this tragedy of the Cueto family. And it's like, damn, even with the departures going on around this story, the core to me remains intact. And it's still as beautiful and breathtaking and chilling as it's always been. I can't wait for the next chapter in this story. I'm sure Matanza's going to go on a fresh rampage now, because we saw the broken key. Camera panned to it at the end, which, what a great fucking image. But yeah, man, like Antonio Cueto, I thought Dario was like this amazing proprietor, and like, yeah, take notes, Stephanie, and all that stuff. But forget proprietors and forget authority figures. Antonio Cueto, from everything we've known about him and for all the strings he's been pulling and everything that he's done, really is an amazing television villain. Like, I'm honestly hoping that by the end of all of this, and really by all of this, I hope that I just mean the arc and not Lucha Underground, because Lucha Underground has to go on forever, as we always say. But I really do hope that Antonio Cueto goes down in the leagues of like a Heisenberg or whatever for great TV villains. Because like, he's just so good. Like, the idea that he would ask the god like to do that, like destroy the humanity, achieve full god status. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So yeah, definitely a cinematic that let my blood run cold. And I think one of my favorite cinematics that Lucha Underground period has ever done over the course of 4 seasons. Because like, man, just so tragic and yet so fear-inducing at the same time. So that's really what I want to say about it. Is there anything you want to add before we move on to our next segment?
You said way more than what I was even going to say, so let's move on.
All right. Well, before we get to high spots, low shots, I do want to get the plugs out of the way. Guys, for Lucha Underground, the big thing I like to plug, especially for any new listeners here, we have a playlist. All Lucha Underground content ever. That means every review. That means every live reaction. That means every Lucha Underground rewatch. I know early on we did like, a luchador spotlight. That means trailer analysis. So if you can't get enough, if you're like, you know what, John's always talking about switching his blood with this shit. Well, I'm going to do it, damn it. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it with TWitWoW's help. Be our guest. It's all right there, ripe for the taking. You're just a few clicks away from that sweet, sweet Lucha Underground goodness. Also, guys, be sure to check out our Patreon. The big thing we aim for with Patreon is progress live reactions. We just did Chapter 22 today. Chapter 23 is going to be headlined by Mark Andrews versus Will Ospreay for the Progress Championship. To do Progress, we require $120 a month. We're currently sitting at $103. So if you would like to chip in and you're a fan of our Progress Live reactions, the best way you can donate is a $3 donation to gain yourself a Discord membership. TWitWoW Discord, a lot of members in it now. It's a very active community. Plus, it involves Ashton and myself. We watch Raw together, SmackDown. You can talk about video games there, Game of Thrones, music, pretty much whatever you want. We've got a tab for just about everything. And yeah, I just think it's a great place to be. Again, Discord access is $3 a month. So do consider donating because it does help us get to Progress and the other aspirations we might have for the TWitWoW channel.
I love that you mentioned Game of Thrones. Mr. fucking Tywin did nothing wrong over here.
Hey, I stand for Stannis. But also be sure to check out all TWitWoW social media, our Facebook page, and our 2 Twitters. The Twitters especially, I would push for anybody that isn't following us to follow us because Ashton's pinned tweet is the TWitWoW schedule. We've pretty much rounded out June more or less. I know we've got maybe 1 or 2 commentaries left, but really I'm just shipping.
Yeah, Q&A tomorrow. That's it.
Q&A tomorrow, and then that's it for June. I will get to Q&A in just a second. But Ashton already does kind of have detailed most of the stuff that we're going to do so far in July, and when any new commentary comes up, he does update the schedule accordingly. So if you want to keep your finger on the pulse of what we're doing, Ashton is definitely the Twitter to follow. As for my pinned tweet, that's where I receive Q&A questions. And speaking of Q&A, it is tomorrow. We're going live with that at 7 p.m. EDT. So if you haven't gotten your questions in yet, please do so. I know there are a few people that get their questions in late. That's fine. Just be sure to get them in before we go live at 7. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to submit questions, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Discord are your best ways of doing it. And as far as Twitter, again, go to my Twitter, DM me, preferably just comment on the pinned tweet that I have left to receive all of your Q&A questions. It's 4 questions per Q&A, and you can divvy them up however you want. Most people like to ask us both their questions, but some people, maybe it's a question more geared towards Ashton's taste or mine. That's fine too. That's what a Q&A is all about. So get those questions in. We're doing that tomorrow. And, lastly, the Teespring store that we have, a bunch of TWitWoW merch. I'm a TWitWoW guy. I'm a TWitWoW girl. For you New Japan fans, Ashton made a wonderful and elegant and yet simplistic Tranquilo shirt that I absolutely love. For those of you supporting Tennille Dashwood on the indies, we've got a real face of the women's revolution. So all sorts of shirts. Be sure to check out the Teespring and other merch like a Scum Squad mug to drink the tears of your enemies. So be sure to check that out. Now, with all of those plugs out of the way, we can get to our main event segment, High Spots and Low Shots. And I will say, man, my low shot is Jeremiah Crane. Because as the saying goes, brother, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and the woman scorned just happened to be the baddest bitch in the building, Evilise. That
is not a woman that you want to be scorning right there.
Hell no. Not only is Jeremiah, for all intents and purposes, dead, but the last moment of his life was getting his head caved in by the woman that he wanted to leave for another woman, that being Katrina, who didn't lift a finger to fucking help because she don't give no fucks. Yeah. So Jeremiah pretty much set himself up to fail. You deserve to fail. I'm laughing at you. I'm going to keep laughing at you when we go off the air. Have fun being dead, asshole, while I'm alive. So who's your low shot, Ashton?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat your low shot, but I am going to take a low shot in Jack Evans, who did lose to a debuting talent, which this is Lucha Underground, so not all debuting talents necessarily win. We've actually seen more of a trend of debuting talents losing. Jack Evans talked a lot of shit, and then he lost to a debuting talent. So I'm going to have to give him my low shot.
Yeah, you almost have to wonder if on the converse side, if that's going to give Licious like a medallion opportunity down the road. That would be interesting.
Go. Yeah, that'd be cool.
But yeah, great low shot, man. High spot. You know what? I'm going to be different. I'm not going to go the obvious route. My high spot's going to be Cage because he sent a message tonight. He wrecked Pentagon, and he declared that he's coming for the Lucha Underground Championship, and he's not going to do some freaking medallion match. He's not going to jump through flaming hoops. No, he's just going to take it to the champion directly. I thought Cage looked amazing. Him posing with the belt looked like the most right thing I had seen in some time. So, yeah, Cage is an easy high spot for me. What about you, partner?
You know, I actually do want to throw out a pair of honorary low shots before I get to my high spot.
Okay.
Being Phoenix and his sweet honeyboo, Melissa Santos, because he did, and she grieving.
Yeah, that's so true. Nice.
But my high spot is going to be Mil Martes. And actually, really, I shouldn't even say that. My high spot is going to be Katrina because she got everything she wanted out of this situation.
Yeah, I don't know how many in our chat are Katrina fans. Like, I know I love the character and the narrative, but I wonder, do you guys consider
I know
this
she's
like
been my high spot on a few episodes before, and really, every time she is my high spot is because she always manipulates a situation to suit what she wants. So like she's really good at her job.
And kudos to Katrina, man, for not like succumbing to the loss of the gauntlet. So now she still gets what she wants while the gauntlet narrative goes in a completely separate direction. And you notice with Cage attacking Pentagon Dark, he doesn't seem too perturbed about having lost it. He's moved on. So now the gauntlet's in a completely different space, which I think that's cool. And yeah, that's a great. I love that you picked Katrina for your high spot. I think that's clever. You might have actually outdone me there, so nicely done. And
well,
yeah,
you had the better low shot, so I had to outdo you somewhere.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you conceding that ground at least. But yeah, no, that's a great pick, dude. Katrina continues to be a fascinating character, and she made out big tonight with how everything went. So yeah, that's really all I can say about that. With that said, Ashton, is there anything else you want to say about Lucha Underground tonight?
No, sir.
All right, guys. Well, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary action. Guys, be sure to comment when this video is done processing. If you have any further thoughts, subscribe and like the video. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for Lucha Underground reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. Please leave that like. No NXT review. We're in our second week of like no NXT reviews. We'll be back in, I want to say 2 weeks. I think that's correct. So, you know, we in 2 weeks, we'll be back with NXT reviews. In the meantime, though, our next commentary is Q&A at 7 p.m. EDT. It's going to be a fun one, always a deep-seater, so be there. Until then, guys, thank you for joining us for all the Lucha goodness. I am fucking pumped tonight. That was amazing. Love all you guys. Thank you for coming out. Tune in. Peace out.